We are on. I'm going to leave a few on the table here so it makes any impact. Here we are on Daf Gimel and Beis. Now this happens to be the most complicated table in all of the Masechta, but it's really not a complicated case. It just looks much more frightening than it is. Okay, but this is the case. We start from here. There were Chaya, five women. Chaya, Sarah, Rivka, Bilhah, and Zilpah. Okay? And they all gave birth to one child who we know it is. Each one gave birth to Reuven, the other to Shimon, the other to Levi, the other to Yehuda, and the other to Yisachar. But then, all five of them, I guess, were in a cave together and gave birth simultaneously, and they had 5 kids, and we don't know which is which, whose child that second child is, which is either Zvulun, Dan, Naphtali, Gad, or Asher, right? So each one of them had one definite son and one suffix son, and the suffix was one which is a suffix among all 5 of the women. Is that clear? Okay. So now, 5 women whose kids got mixed up. So these five mixed up kids grew up, and they somehow managed to get married nonetheless. And then they all died. Okay? So this is the case. I guarantee this case has never happened in the course of Jewish history, ever. But they all died, right? So all 4 are cholates. All 4 of the brothers are cholates, 4 of the girls, right? And the 5th one marries the girl, right? So example here, Reuven does chalitza on Leah, Rachel, Chana, and Dinah, and marries Tamar, who's the 5th one. Shimon does chalitza on Leah, Rachel, Chana, and Tamar, and marries the 5th one, Dinah, and so on and so forth. Each one does chalitza on 4 and marries the 5th round robin style. Okay? Because either the one there's a 20% chance that the one he marries actually is actually Yevama, and if it's not his Yevama, so it's one of the other brothers' Yevama upon which Chalitza is performed. So vis-a-vis him, she's of course a regular, not related woman, and therefore is allowed to be married to, right? So Arba chotzim lachas ve'echom miyabim. Hu v'shlosha and he and the other 3 chotzim lachas. They do chalitza on the other one. Ve'echom miyabim. One of them is miyabim, and so on and so forth. Nimtza arba chalitzas v'yibum koachas v'achas. So each one of the girls and each one of the boys does 4 chalitzas and 1 yibum. Okay, so it's a very exciting case. B'chol asa atamar.
Maybe I'm not catching. Why does each brother have to chalitza on the other girls if he does yibum on one of those girls?
Because they're not related.
They're not sisters.
Right, they're not sisters, right. Okay, not sisters, and they're not married to brothers. Okay? So, every way Atamar, Ein chalitza, there's no chalitza after chalitza. Which is really your question, or it's asking. There's no chalitza after chalitza, how come they all do chalitza? One chalitza should be enough, right? So, you're saying one is not enough, right? So, it's like when is one chalitza enough? When one is definitely a brother, right? But here they're not none of them is definitely a brother. We don't know which is the brother who's supposed to do chalitza. It could be any one of the 5. So that's why you have to have 5 chalitzas, right? One would not suffice, right? Because everywhere Atamar you say, B'chol makom it should be she'omrim lo, not she'ein omar. It should be omrim lo. Everywhere we tell a guy yabeim that he can do yibum, ein omer lechalotz. We don't say you have to do chalitza. If you do yibum, what kind of chalitza is there necessary? The yibum takes care of everything. Here you say yes to yibum and 4 chalitzas. So it's more again the same thing, kam b'vadei, kam b'safik. Whereas definite family relationships, then you do yibum and you don't have to do chalitza. But here the whole relationship, all the relationships are up in the air, so you have to do both yibum and chalitza. Okay? That was a simple case. Next case. Ha'isha shnisar vlad bevlad kalosa. You have Sarah, right? Sarah had a child. Sarah had one definite child, two definite children, Yaakov and Yitzchak, right? One of her definite children, Yaakov, married Rachel. That's Sarah's daughter-in-law, right? The Rachel had a definite child, right? And again, Sarah and Rachel were in the hospital at the same time, and their children got mixed up. The next one of their children, right? So we have one kid, Nachshon or Chetzron, and two kids, Nachshon or Chetzron, and we don't know if Nachshon or Chetzron is Sarah, the mother's son, or Rachel, the daughter-in-law's son, right? So they could either be Sarah's child, or Sarah's grandchild. Okay? So in that case, Higdilu ataroivus v'nasu nashim. So Nachshon and Chetzron go up and they marry women. V'meisu. And Nachshon and Chetzron then die. So B'nai Akala, and Rachel's other son Ruvain, he's got to do chalitza on both the women, on both Nachshon and Chetzron's wives, who are here called Dinah and Tamar. Because it's true that it might be his brother's wife. Because he doesn't know, but it might be his uncle's wife. And if it's his uncle's wife is an arayas to him. So therefore he can't do yibum. He's got to do chalitza. He's got to do two chalitzas because he doesn't know which one is really the right one. But he's got to do two chalitzas misafik, right? So it's a kvavik if it's his brother's wife, which would be okay, but if it's his uncle's wife, then that's bad. However, Yitzchak, who's another brother, who's another son of Sarah, right? So he can do either chalitza or yibum, because either it's his sister-in-law, in which case yibum is the proper thing, or it's his niece, actually his nephew's wife, and you can marry your nephew's wife, right? It's either the girl's either his sister-in-law or his nephew's wife. So if it's either one, it's permitted to him, either because of yibum or because it's a regular marriage. So we can do yibum or chalitza. Does yibum on one and chalitza on the other? Okay. So it's of his sister-in-law, his brother's wife, which is a yibum relationship, or Eishes ben Achiv, or his nephew's wife, which is okay even as a marriage relationship. Meisu aksherim. Now what problem is like this? Another problem is like this. Let's say the definite brothers died. Yitzchak died, right? It was the definite brother on the first generation level, and Reuven died, who's the definite brother on the second generation level. But Nachshon and Chetzron, the Sveikas, they're still alive. Okay, so this is the opposite case. In this case, the guys who are Suffolk died, and that's the Reisha, and the Seifa, the guys who are the definite ones died, and we're left with the Sveikas. So in this case, one of the brothers has to chalitza on both for sure, right? Because it's either his, as far as, well, let's see, the Mishnah will say. Mesuk Shem, hataroivas lebneas kena. So he says, in this case, the taroivas vis-a-vis Rivka, they both have to do chalitza. Because potentially Rivka is their aunt, their uncle's wife. So neither of them can take Rivka, misafek, because they don't know if they are Yitzchak, the dead brother's brother, which would make it okay, or they're Reuven, the dead sons, or the dead grandsons, I should say, brother, in which case they can't do yibum on their aunt. Are you following? It's a complicated case. What? Okay, that in this case, we know the people who died, we know which generation they're affiliated with, right? We know that Yitzchak, who's Sarah's first generation son, died, and we know that Reuven, also who's Sarah's second generation, her grandson died, right? So however, we don't know among Nachshon and Chetzron are brothers to Yitzchak, who's the son, or brothers to Reuven, who's the grandson, right? So they definitely can't do Yibum on Rivka, right? Rivka's out of the question, because neither of them know if they are from the first generation of Sarah's progeny and the second generation of Sarah's progeny. If they're from the second generation of Sarah's progeny, so Rivka's also them because of Arias, because it's their aunt. So they can't marry their aunt by marriage, but that's aunt. So therefore, they both have to do chalitza to Rivka, because neither of them knows that they would be permissible in Rivka. However, one of them can do this would be Chana. So on that, they're safe no matter what, right? Because Chana is either their sister-in-law, which is shaykh to Yibum, or their nephews, their deceased nephew's wife, which is also permitted to them. So the one of them has to do chalitza on Chana, the other one can go ahead and do Yibum on Chana. Okay? So that's what we're talking about here. So Umnei Akala echad choletz v'echad miyabim. So the wife of the Kala, the wife of Ruvain, so they one can do Yibum, one can do chalitza on her. Rabbi Yochanan said, Kini mas nisa. This is the way to read the end of the Mishnah. It's not accurate the way the end of the Mishnah should say Linashei b'nei Akala, to the wife of the son of the Kala, meaning the wife of the deceased Reuven. To her, one of them can marry, and one of them has to do chalitza. Linashei b'nei Askena, to the wife of Yitzchak, the son of the old lady, well, they both have to do chalitza. Anyway, Chagai says, what does this case tell us? So it's It's telling us that a person is allowed to marry his nephew's wife. Now, why should he not be allowed to marry his nephew's wife? What does the Mishnah have to tell us? So Korban gives two possible reasons. That one reason actually, which I like better, but the Korban doesn't like better, is that the reason why I might not let you marry your nephew's wife is because, let's say, then you die. So who's the Yavam? If you marry your nephew's wife, who might potentially be the Yavam? If you marry your nephew's wife, then your the Yavam might be the father-in-law, right? This woman's father-in-law might eventually be the Yavam, right? If you marry your nephew's wife, that means it's your brother's son's wife. And so if you marry her and because her husband died childless and then you died childless, so the Yavam will be her own father-in-law, which is also. So I might say, don't let somebody marry their nephew's wife, lest there be a Yibum situation where you won't be able to do Yibum. That's one reason the Korban possibly gives. The other reason he gives is much more simple and straightforward. He says that Chazal should have asked this because of Sheni La Rayas, because it looks awesome, right? So therefore, our Mishnah is telling us a chiddush that they didn't answer just because it looks awesome. Okay? Says the Mishnah further. By the way, in case you're wondering, the reason why I'm so awake tonight is because I went to Starbucks and got a venti Americano. This probably has enough caffeine to keep an army awake for a week. Okay, says the Mishnah further. That was a plug for Starbucks. I own stock in Starbucks, so I have to plug that. A Kohen, it's another case. This is a much easier case. And the case of, actually, the rest of the night is quite easy. We can do it in like 5 minutes. Kohen Shnisar, I'm exaggerating, but quickly. Kohen Shnisar Vlada Bivlachi. I didn't mean to allow you to ask more questions.
No, it's not a question.
Yeah, go ahead. Yes.
There is a theory in cultural anthropology related to when societies impose, like Isser Erva, okay? And it's propounded by a guy named Strauss, Levi Strauss, that's his last name. And his theory is...
I remember this from high school sociology, vaguely.
There's a the man's supposed to dominate over the woman, and the older generation is supposed to dominate over the younger generation.
Yeah.
Whenever you have a clash in those two ideas, such as an aunt, because the man's supposed to dominate over the woman, yet the older generation is supposed to dominate over the younger generation.
They made an Arias.
It's an Arias. And it
fits in with nephew, it fits in with aunt, and all these different things. So to me, like, I see this as like it's unbelievable.
That's an interesting theory. Okay. Kohen Shisar Vlad of Vlad Chosa. Despite the Aprikorsus.
Stop that.
Yeah. Kohen Shisar Vlad of Vlad Chosa. A Kohenes. Now you have two women. One of them, which is the mistress, who's a Kohenes, the wife of a Kohen, and you have then the Shifcha, right? So a Shifcha is allowed to eat truma. The Shifcha of a Kohen is allowed to eat truma, right? But of course, the kid is also love of a Kohol, right? The kid of a Shifcha, right? So now the two kids get mixed up. The Ben HaShifcha, who's an Evet, and the Ben of the Kohenes, who's obviously of priestly caste, right? So they got mixed up. They can eat truma, because no matter what, they can eat truma. But when they go to collect truma in the barnyard, not in the barn, in the farmhouse, so they can only get one portion between the two of them, right? Because only one of them is the real Kohen, right? They can't be Matami L'Mesim, even though one of them can, but we don't know which one. They can't get married. Ben Ksheros, Ben Psulos, because one of them is an Evan and can't get married, right? Says why can they eat truma? Because the slaves can eat truma. They only get one portion in the barn. Because this teacher, the Rebbe Chia, taught us that even though women and slaves have the right to eat truma, in other words, the wife of a Kohen can eat truma, right? And the Eved of a Kohen can eat truma, but they can't go to a barn and say, I'm the slave of a Kohen, or I'm the wife of a Kohen, I want truma. Only the Kohen, him or herself, can go. So therefore they only get one portion between the two of them, right? So they can't go and ask, they can't go to the barn, and the reason is because we're afraid of yichus. People are going to think they're actually the bona fide Kohanim. So you can't actually give them truma, they can't demand truma. What you can do is in the house, informally, you can give them truma, but not at the formal distribution. They can't marry lo ksheros v'lo psulos, not kosher, not apostle women. Lo ksheros, not ksheros mipnei apostle, because one of them is an Evan. V'lo psulos, because of kosher, because one is a kosher. Can they bring between the two of them one mincha? Will take cheva b'kolil, which will be sacrificed kolil, meaning that nobody will eat from the mincha. As you recall, I'm sure, when a Kohen brings a mincha, nobody eats from it. Unlike when a Yisrael brings a mincha. When Yisrael brings a mincha, the Kohen eats from it, right? But when a Kohen brings a mincha, nobody eats from the mincha, right? So what about when the two of them bring mincha? Can they come together and say, well, between the two of us are bringing mincha, so it should count as the Kohen's mincha, and nobody should be allowed to eat from it, right? So this is what yes they can do. They bring one mincha and they say, if I'm the Kohen, it's mine. If you're the Kohen, it's yours. We'll take Kreva Kohen, it's brought, and it's completely consumed on the What about the other way, though? Can they bring two menachas? Achas keva b'kol, one which will be totally sacrificed. V'achas likmetzes and one will be have a koimetz taken to put on his back and will be eaten. Why? Because an Eved can bring a mincha, and his mincha is like a regular Yisrael's mincha. So can they do that in partnership? Bring two menachas, one of which will be like a mincha of a Kohen and be kolil, be completely consumed by the fire, and the other which will be a mincha of a commoner and be have a climate so the mizrach beaten. So there's more. Yeah, they can do that too. Tiny mevin shtimanos. They can bring two menachos. Achas keva bekol here. What is completely sacrificed. V'achas nikmetzes v'nechel. So when you take off a kometz and it's consumed. Maushido edus achas. Can they come to court and testify? This is a cool question. I don't remember this from the Bavli anywhere, but who knows? Maybe when we learn Bavli, Yevamos will come across it. Can they come to court and testify? Now, one of them is posel edus. So can they come to court though, like 1/8, like 1/8, because together with the kosher, one of them is kosher, one of them is no good. Can they come to a basin as 1/8? Like when you put the Gemara's famous case of where you have a lame man who's sighted riding atop of a blind man who can walk. So can you do the same thing here with these two people, right? It's a cute question. So Ma'u she'edu edus achas tell him edus achas. Can they testify together? or Yeva, do we say concerning this, do we say about this, Yeheba, should we say about this, Kahida Mar, Rabbi Zira, like Rabbi Zira said, and Rabbi Yitzhak said, B'Shem Ravasi, the word achas here is superfluous. Me'achashi limotzo edim zoimimim ein ne'erogin. No, the catch is, it's not Eidu Shatoyochel Azima. You can't be mazing them, right? Because if you come to them and say, hey, you're the one who testified falsely against this guy and almost had him put to death, they'll say, I didn't testify falsely, I'm Posel Eidus, it was my friend who testified. And the other one will say the same thing. So therefore, on a technicality, they can't testify because you can never be mazing then, and any Eidu Shatoyochel Azima, you can't be mazing the witnesses, is not Eidus, right? So Eidu Shili Motzo Eidim Zoyim Ein Erogin, Vein Horeg Nerag, and therefore, wherever the murderer can't be killed, here too, of course, the same thing applies as well. Okay, so therefore, you can't accept their testimony. So the Amud Yerushalmi is a whole discussion here. He says he brings down a question from the Karbonative and Shura Carbon. He asks, hey, anyway, they should be apostle because it's like Nimtza Echel Karav apostle, right? Because it's the way.
That's only if you have a cot. This is not a cot.
So he says that he doesn't say it's only if you have a cot, although you might be able to answer it's only in a group, right? And we're talking about their south areas. But the Amud Yerushalmi says that Nimtza Echel Karav apostle is only where we know who the apostle aid is. But here, which is strange svara, but he brings down from a Taisus. But we don't know where the apostle aid is, we don't say Nimtza Echel Karav apostle. But the Gilin Ephraim says a much more nice Lom de Shequel answer. He says that the answer is that an Eved is not Nimtza Echel Karav apostle. It's just like if you have two witnesses who come to court with a woman, who's the third witness. Do we say that, well, a woman is apostle and so too the two aidim are apostle? No, because can't be an aid. So she's not called apostle. Apostle is somebody shaykh to be an aid, but right now he's apostle because he's a gambler or he's a thief or he's a relative of the person in question, right? But here, somebody who's never possible to be an aid, so then we don't say about such a person, Nimtza Echel Karav apostle, it cancels the entire group. So to an Eved is not possible to be an aid. He's not an aid apostle. He's not an aid. So therefore, the Eved one is just disqualified from Eidus, and he wouldn't say Nimtza Echel Karav apostle. Alright. So continuing on with this case, Higilu. The kids grow up. The son of the Shifcha and the son of the Kohenes. The Shikru says that, so they release each other. Very nice, right? So they released each other. Nosim Nashim, they marry women Ru'uim Lakuna, who were suitable to marry Kohen because one of them is a Kohen. Ve'em Talam Mason, neither of them can go to Levaya because one of them is a Kohen. Ve'nitmu, if however they went to Levaya, they became rabbis in traditional synagogues and went to Levayas, right? Ain't something as our boy, maybe that's his head, maybe he got mixed up somewhere. Anyway, ain't something as our boy. It's really not nice. Alright, I apologize. Eitzah is going, they don't get flogged. Okay? Why don't they get flogged? Because we don't know if actually who's the one to flog, right? They can't eat truma because one of them is no longer, one of them is a Kohen, but the other one who was once an Eved of a Kohen no longer is, and therefore he can't eat truma, right? However, if they ate, you don't have to pay the additional penalty which is paid by a Zorei Truma because we have to prove which one is not the Kohen, right? They can't get a portion in the barnyard because one of them is not a Kohen. So therefore the owner of the barnyard says to each one, prove that you're a Kohen, I'll give it to you. You can't. It's a truma. They can sell truma Adam Yishalem and keep the money because they could say, prove to us which one of us is not the Kohen, that we shouldn't be allowed to keep the money. They do not get kachim in the base of mikdash because they're not definitely kohanim. When they can't give them the kachim because what business they have having kachim, they can't eat it. We cannot take kachim away from them because in order to take kachim away from them, we have to prove that they're not kohanim and that we can't prove either. They're exempt from giving the gifts given to a kohen from a slaughtered animal because let's prove they're not kohanim. And we cannot take away a bechor from them to give the kohen because let's prove they're not kohanim. Rather, their bechor, row out, she still have to go graze until it gets a mum, and then they can eat it and say, well, we own it.
You can't say they should prove that they are kohanim?
No, because they own the animal. The animal's in their possession. We want to take it away from them. In general, we give them the chumras of both Yisrael and Mekwanim.
Now, how could a Suffolk Evet free another person?
What do you mean? They couldn't free a third party. No, they couldn't free it because now they're free no matter what. Until they did that, none of them could free a third person.
No, I understand. No, the first line in the Mishnah.
Yeah.
How could they free each other? One
of them is definitely a Kohen.
Yeah, the real Kohen can free
the other gesture is meaningless. But we don't know which is the meaningless gesture, so we have to do both. So that's why. But the Gemara says, it sounds like only shichru zed b'di'evet. If they're meshachrer, if they're released in this halacha. But it sounds like they're not allowed to release each other. Right? Which of course could be understood because we have a prohibition to release avodim unless there's, mitigating circumstances. But is that the case here? So, it says in my note, this is the way to read the Mishnah. Mutar l'shachar b'tchila, you're allowed even l'chatchila, with this is considered to be extenuating enough circumstance that you're allowed to release them. And after Rabbi Yosef Gli, Amar also l'shachar, even Rabbi Yosef Gli says normally not allowed to release a slave. Modu l'achar she'em mutar, here he says it's permissible ne'tikun havlad in order to be able to rectify the kid, meaning that they should be allowed to get married. When it says they're only allowed to marry ru'uyos, mal ru'uyos, lo psulos. They can only marry women who are kosher lakuna, not women who are apostle kuna. So the Gilin Ephraim has, isn't that obvious? What's the Gemara telling us? Of course that's what ksheros means. Lo psulos. Isn't that what it means? Ksheros lakuna, they're not apostle. So he says a very interesting thing. He says we had back in one of the previous brachim, I forget which one, we had a shita, which we don't paskin like, that kohanos who are ksheros, kohanos, are not allowed to marry chalolim. Remember we had such a shita? We hold a cholol can marry a kohenes, and a kohenes can marry a cholol. But we had a shita back then that the kohenes cannot marry a cholol. Because they had a shita that ksheros, who's a rule absulim? That even women, just like a kohen can't marry a chalola, a kohenes can't marry a cholol. Okay, we had such a shita. So that's what's coming to, I don't know, it's the end of the 9th parak maybe? Anyway, we had it somewhere back then. I don't want to, I think it's the end of the 9th parak. Yeah, it's around Daf Nun Aleph. I think it's on Daf Nun. So in any event, so be that as it may, so here what it's saying is, since one of them is an Evan B'Shuchar, just like a Kohen can't marry a Shivcha Shenishtacharoh, so too according to the Shita that Kohanos can't marry Psulim, so too a Kohenes can't marry either one of them because one of them is a Evan Shenishtacharoh. So when it says Ksheros, Maurios, Lo Psulos, it means the women are not Pasulukuna, but not Kohanos themselves. Kohanos themselves will not be allowed to marry these two men because one of them is an Evan Meshuchar, and according to Shita that Ksheros can't marry Psulim, so that would be no good. Okay, that's a kind of a digression, but it's going to come back into our topic. How many of the Kohen who wants to come up and sacrifice his own korbanos, no matter what Mishmar is serving in the Beit HaMikdash that week? It doesn't matter. Shatam Malonka says the you can come according to whatever he desires and serve. Now, if the Kohen was an old man or sick, which means, says the Seder Mephoshim, he could serve, but it's hard for him. He's old and he's sick, but he could. So he has so he has the right to give his own korbanos to any mishmar he wants, and he gets the flesh and the hides. Because since he could have done it himself, even though it's hard for him, so therefore he can exercise discretion about who sacrifices it, and he gets the flesh and the hide. But what if he has no migo? He couldn't serve even if he wanted to because he's tameh, or because he has a blemish. Then tough on him. No Sonache Mishmar has to give his korbanos to the people of the Mishmar which are serving right now, Varan Ubsaran Alehen, and they get to keep the flesh and the hide because he has no migo. He couldn't have done it himself, right? Now, coming back to our Mishnah. These two guys, right? So one of them is a kohen, but one of them is not, right? Mat avilhon. How do you regard them? You regard them kizakin v'kechoyle, like a zakin and a choyle, and therefore they get to keep the hides and the meat. Or katay ba'amum, you regard them like a tamid ba'amum, and therefore they don't get to keep the hides and the meat, nor give to any kohen they want. So it makes sense to say we make them ketami ba'amum. Why? Because they can't really sacrifice. Even though it's only a suffix, they can't sacrifice because we don't know who they are, and therefore they come and they have no right to come and exercise discretion about who should sacrifice their kabbanas, nor do they get the hides and the meats. However, that makes sense, but the Mishnah doesn't say that. The Mishnah says, it seems to say that we make them like a zakin and a choyle. It says, we cannot take away that which they have, which means it sounds like they can actually exercise their own discretion about where to give it. Okay? So that sounds like we make them like a zakin and a choyle, and not like a ba'amum or a tummy. Okay, new case. Mishaloshas achar ba'al shlosha chodashim. I actually was going to look, and I forgot to look at their nachos fees on this. Oh yeah, there it is. So, okay, 1 second. Okay, Mishloshas achar bala shlosh chodashim. Her husband died, and she didn't wait 3 months. Well, actually, or she got divorced. We don't know. Or the more is even going to say the first guy did it, was never married to her. He raped her. Okay, that's how Shemus going to come out to the conclusion. So she didn't wait. Shlosh chodashim, and he says since she got married to somebody else, then she gave birth. We don't know whose kid is. First kid's after 9 months, or the first husband's after 9 months, or the second husband's after 7 months. So if there were kids from the first guy and kids from the second guy, they do chalitza, not yibum, right? Because they don't know if it's their brother or not their brother, right? So therefore they both do chalitza and not yibum. Right? Now the reason why they have to do chalitza, not yibum, they can't marry her, is because they all share a common mother. So if they share a common father, so then there's a mitzvah yibum. But if they don't share a common father and they do share a common mother, then it's kores, right? So they can't actually do yibum out. Like we said before, do yibum misafik. If it's your brother, fine. If it's not your brother, so she's a zara. It's not true, because here they all share the same mother. They just don't share the same. The question whether they share the same father or not, right?
It's a case of 3 brothers.
Right, 3 brothers. And two of them are full brothers, and the other 2 are half brothers. They don't know which is which, and that's what the pictures are diagrammed. But I don't think it's necessary. Just all those arrows are confusing. If you really want to go through the pictures, we can do it. Okay, so a lot of pictures. For some reason, Baruch Hashem, I didn't notice all the pictures with all the arrows. Yeah. All right. So I'll just write down for posterity. Okay, so in any event, he also does chalitza to them, and does not miyabim them, vice versa, right? If they're the ones who die. You see, just from the pictures here, in this case, he died, the suffix guy, right? In this case, the 2 other guys died, and here they do chalitza. They do where he died. They do. Each of them does chalitza on his wife. Where Ruvain is the one who survives, and they died, so he does chalitza on both wives again, because if he can't do ibum, so he's lost them because they share a common mother, right? What if he had brothers, however, not from the same mother? Then we're okay, right? Because if they're not from the same mother, so then either he's miyabim, or if he's not miyabim, he can marry outright, right? Because there's no prohibition. The prohibition is only 1/2. Well, you got the picture, right? So we don't know which are truly his brothers. Who cholei to miyabim, So if it's if he can do chalitza and yibum, right? So you can do chalitza one and yibum on the other. Because if the chalitza is right, then the other woman is not at all related to him. He can marry her. If the yibum is right, because that's Taka, his sister-in-law, so the chalitza on the other one, in fact, is meaningless. It was just a pro forma, right? And vice versa. If he's the one who dies, and he leaves the wife, so one of them does chalitza, and the other one does yibum. And if the chalitza was valid, so then she goes out l'shuk, and therefore the other guy who's not really related to her can be miyavim her. And if the yibum is valid, so the chalitza, of course, is unnecessary, right? What if one was Yisrael? In other words, one of the, going back to the father, right? He has two fathers, right? We don't know which is his father, right? So one was Yisrael, one was a Kohen. Number one was a father Yisrael, the number two was a Kohen, or vice versa, right? So he might be a Kohen, he's got to marry a woman who's a Kohen. He can't go to Levias. If he comes to me, misafik, and so it's a problem, we can't flog it. Ve'eno oichel b'truma, can he truma misafik? V'imachal v'yei truma in a mishal and keren milchom, he doesn't have to pay misafik. So in his last mishnah. Ve'eno chol he can't get a portion because he's a safik. U'machal is a truma, but he can sell truma, but he shall get the money because he's a safik. And if we want to take away from him, we have to prove he's not a Kohen. Ve'eno chol b'kotche mikdash, you can't get kotche base mikdash, is only a safik. Ve'nice little kotche, we don't give a kotche because it's only a safik. Ve'motzir shlobo, we can't take away his because we would have to prove he's not a Kohen miyado, and we can't prove it. Upatim in Azar Chaim Akeva, he doesn't have to give the gifts to the Kohen Zerol Chaim Akeva because he Kamotzach love right would have to prove he's not a Kohen. Ubuchori Yarad, she's trying to keep his Bukhori till gets him home. And that's of Chumei Yisrael, Chumei Chaim, generally give him the Chumei of both Yisrael and a Kohen. Hoyush name Kohanim. What if they were both Kohanim? Now, this is really cool. Both the first guy and the second guy was a Kohen. Both of them, right? So he's definitely a Kohen, right? So Hoyush name Kohanim, who own in Aleim. What if they both, when they die, so he has the status of owning on both of them, and an owning is not allowed to serve in the Beis HaMikdash, right? Only a Kohen Gadol is an owning is allowed to serve, but not a Kohen Hediot who's an owning. So therefore, when both of them die, he has to stop doing avoda for the period of Aninus, right? They own him love, and vice versa, they're owning on him, and when he dies, they would have to stop their avoda in the Beis HaMikdash. However, he can't go to their Levias. And they can't go to his Levias because they don't know which one is actually he's a relative of. Who lo yaresho sab? Now this is talking about in general. He can inherit them, right? Because each one, the other brother, the other heirs say, you prove that you're an heir. But the two of them, if he dies, they divvy up his spoils, right? Because who else is going to inherit him, right? So therefore, the two fathers would divide up whatever this suffix son leaves over, right? Let's say he beats his father, or curses his father, but we don't know which is his father, so therefore he's exempt, right? He's got to go up in the mishmar of each one of his fathers if they're both Kohanim, but he doesn't have any rights in Yerushalmi. So the Gemara is of course going to ask, so why is he bothering going up to Yerushalmi, right?
Well, he couldn't have gotten killed for hitting his father there because it would have been Hasra Suffolk anyway.
The Gemara is going to discuss that. He doesn't get a portion. If however they're both on the same mishmar, he gets one portion. Says more, wait a minute. So what's going on here? You said both fathers are Kohanim, right? But you said both fathers are still alive, because you said both fathers are owning on him, right? So that means both fathers are still alive. How do you have a case where both fathers could still be alive, and he could possibly be a Kohen? You see the problem?
Yeah, because it was divorce.
Either divorce, or the first father died. In which case you can't have a case where both fathers are still alive, and he can be they're both Kohanim. If the first Kohen died, right, the first potential father, he can't sustain that which it says, who own in Aleim, he's owning them, and both of them own him a love, because it's got to be dead. Now here put in the words, Ela b'shegiresh, which are 2 lines hence. They're supposed to be up here. So maybe say divorce. So in that case I would say he's not matame to the first one, right? And second one, because he would be the son of the first one. But why? Right? And if it's not the first one's son, right? Because he's the second one's son, right? So that means he's a cholo, right? Because his first father divorced his wife. So then, of course, he can go to Levi anyway, right? Either he's the son of the first guy or he's a cholo. So no matter what, he can go to the Levi of the first guy, regardless, right?
He's allowed to divorce his wife. He just can't marry a grusha, but he could. Oh, that's right. She's
right. She got married to another guy, right? So Ella b'sha'anas. We're talking about where the first guy wasn't a husband; he was a rapist. Okay, so she was raped by a Kohen, and then within 3 months she went and married a Kohen, but not the same Kohen, right? So that's why we have a question. Says the Gemara, Lo chen amar Rabbi Abba b'shem Rabbi Abba anu saying tzich lahamtin shlosha chadashim. So it says, but it sounds like our Mishnah is condemning her for getting married within 3 months. But we know that you're allowed to get married within 3 months of being raped. So why is our Mishnah condemning her for doing so? It says, Mishalo shas. Somebody didn't wait. She doesn't have to wait. Says the Gemara, Sabina Mema, they want to say, Krabana. We pass Kentucky, she doesn't have to wait. But here, our Mishnah, which condemns her for having gotten married in 3 months, that's like Rabbi Yossi holds you're supposed to. Tiny, Rabbi Chia said, Onin Retamin ala Sofik. Rabbi Chia said, Kohen comes in Onin, and is Metame on a Sofik. Now, this is talking about here, not our case, but a parallel case. If a Kohen has a son who we don't know if it was a full-term baby or an 8-month baby, right? 8-month baby we know is not considered viable. Full term is 9 months, right? So it's a suffix. So misafik he becomes an one on the kid. I'm not sure what metamin actually is. Well, how come he could be called tame on him? I'm pretty sure Matamim is lav dafka now that I look at it. Because how can you go be Matami for the kid if the kid was not viable? It's just a nefel. You can't go be Matami for the kid. So I'm not sure if Matamim is dafka, but Onim is dafka, right? Become Onim. So Rabbi Yossi Masnisa Amrakin. Our mission says it, right? Who Onim Aleim Ve'edonim Alav. Our mission is the case of Safek, and it says they have a status of Onim, L'chumra. So too on a kid who we don't know if it's a miscarriage or not, you have to be Onim L'chumra. Rabbi Yashmar Yochum Sahavali Uvda. He had such a case come in front of him, a shiloh of this sort. So Rabbi Yossi asked Rabbi Yossi, now Amar Lei, so he said, Lo Tzarech, of course it was after the Beis Mikdash was destroyed, so there's no question about Voida. But the shiloh's Lamaisa, was he an Onen on a kid which was only 8 months old when it was 8-month term? Well, Safik was 8-month or 9-month term. So I'm going to lay a late story. So you don't have to be noig avelus on him. So he said, what do you do with our Mishnah? It says even a Safik or an Onein and Bistam avelus as well. It says Mar Simonim Hayu Nikorin. Now according to Amudei Yerushalmi here at the bottom, it means that they could tell that it was clearly a Ben Ches. When it's a Safik Ben Ches Ben Tes, then your Onein means Safik. But it's definitely a Ben Ches. Where the Simonim that's a Ben Ches, it's not full term, then you're not Onein Misafik. Now we Bisman is that Paskin, I believe, that even if it's a 9-month kid, as long as it doesn't live 30 days, so we assume that it's a nefil. But then, according to this Gemara, if it's a question if it's Ben Ches or Ben Tes, then you would be Onein Misafik. But if there's Simonim that's a Ben Ches, then you wouldn't be Onein Misafik. Says Mar Lochein Amin Chavai B'Shem Rabbi Yochanan. Then Chavai saying Rabbi Yochanan Simonim Ben Shmon. If there are indications that he's an 8-month baby, Eino Simaisa, that you do not make people sit in avelus. Says the Gemara. So if that's the case, how come? No, I'm sorry. The opposite. Sorry. It's a question. Wait a minute. Even if there's Simon that was 8 days old, we do not say that he was only 8 months old. We do not say that you're exempt from Anidus, right? So it says, here it was evident to him that when the kid was... No, it's not my work here. So I was looking at the Amud Yerushalmi, but I see it's not going to work out. At least not that I can figure out offhand. So let me go back and like carbon Ada. Says, let's go back to the second to last line on 128. So it says, that he was bent. The Gemara's question. Let me go back 2 lines before that. The Gemara's question is, why are you telling me you don't have to be Einin? It was a suffix. Maybe it was a suffix. And it says more, why was it a suffix? Simonim hayu nikarim. That there were simonim that that the kid was a full-term baby. So it says more, so what? Simonim ben shmoina oin enos amaisa. Even if there's a simon that says that this ben shmona is really ben tisha, we don't do a maisa, right? So we still don't make him sit avelus. The exact opposite of what we said before. Says no, he had a real simon here. Simon hayalo, he knew that the kid was a 9-month baby, shabal piresh, because he had not had relations with his wife for the last 9 months. So therefore, he knew for sure that it was a 9-month kid, and that's why that's where in that case we said Rabbi Chia said only matamil sofek. In a case where there isn't a definite simon, even if it looks to you like it's a 9-month baby, then you don't have to yoinin matam. You're not yoinin. Am I making myself clear? And the case is a case where he wasn't sure if his kid was 8 or 9 month term, right? And he said you don't have to sit avelus. So it says somewhere, wait a minute, didn't we learn that you are yoinin matamil sofek? Right? So it says more, no, depends if there's money that it's ben ches. Says more, what do you mean even if it's money that's ben ches? You still don't money that's ben ches. You still don't rely on that, and you are oinen bisafek. Says Gemara, no, it's the opposite. Simone ben ches. You don't. It's not choppy either way you learn it. I'm not sure exactly what the shock of Tari is, but let's try to say, let me try one more time. He said, the guy came and asked a question, and he was told you don't have to be anointed. So then they asked, what do you mean? Don't we learn you are anointed misafek? So it says the Gemara, Simonim ayonikarim, meaning that there was Simonim that he was a ben ches. Then we learned that Simonim ben ches, you don't do a maisa. In other words, you still have to be an Orvel. That must be the Gemara's question, right? So it says Gemara, Simayalo Shabal Pirish. That's only where you have a simon that it isn't the Ben Ches. Where's the simon? Where's the simon that's not a Ben Ches? Where you haven't had relations in the last 9 months. So actually, now I think I got it. So when it says here, Chavrayim Shem Yochad Simoni Ben Shmoni Eno Simaisa, that means that where the ben shmoina has simonim that he's not a ben shmoina, right? Then you do not allow the guy to get off the hook and he has to do avelus. What's the simon by a ben shmoina that he's not a ben shmoina where he has to do avelus? It's a case where you haven't had relations in the last 9 months. So then I say, mistam, it is a 9-month term baby and you do have to sit avelus. I guess that's the way to read it. In any event, I see it's difficult. It's choppy no matter which way you look at it. Anyway, says more further. Ben Shmoina Areu Kevin. This is a very famous Gemara. We have in the Gemara on Shabbos. A kid who's 8-month term is like a stone. Vein metalton on Sober Shabbos. It's considered to be technically dead. But his wife can his mother can lean over him and nurse him because she wants to get rid of the milk in her breast. Rabbi Yossi boy Ilan Tinokos Svekos, a kid who we don't know if he's full term. Malchem is a Shabbos, can we do a bris milah on him on Shabbos? So it says the Gemara, Amrei Yossi Berei Bun, V'yos, why not? Manafshach. No matter what, it should be okay. Bebenti Shahu, if he's a full-term baby, Yom gets bris milah. Bet Shmona, if he's only an 8-month term baby, Naskim Chatech Basar. It's not a bris milah, you're just cutting flesh in a dead person. And there's no prohibition in cutting flesh in a dead person on Shabbos. Okay? You're only not allowed to make a chabura in a live person. But if it's a dead person, it's okay. So do the bris milah no matter what, right? The word Shalom Tzarech are not supposed to be here. Rabban, that's part of Rabban Kesar's rejoinder. No. Rabban Kesar, Rabbi Yaakov, they said Rabbi Yaakov, Bardasye, Shah, he asked in his position, who says you're just allowed to cut flesh if there's no need. In other words, you're assuming that there's no prohibition of chabura, so it's okay, but there's an issur d'Rabbanan to just cut dead bodies unless it's necessary. So therefore, that's why the legitimate question was asked, whether do bris milah on a suffix ben ches or not. Okay? Says the Gemara, Tanya Rishim Gamliel Omer, Kol miskayim ba'adam shlishim yom ein nefil. This is the way we paskin. We paskin, if it survives 30 days, it's not a nefil. Because it says, U'ptuya mi ben chodesh tifteh, redina when you get 2 months old. Uvehema, by an animal, shmoni yom remains a nefil. It survived for 8 days, it's already not a nefil. And that's why miyom hashvili v'holi, rotzeh korban yishal Hashem, it was korban from the 8th day. Talmud Amar Yishem Shmuel, over there they said name of Shmuel, in Eretz Yisrael, halakha Rishon Gamliel, that it's 30 days, not, even if you have simonim, you don't go by the simonim. It's got to be 9 months, plus 30 days of actual being alive, okay? Said, in order to do Avelus. Amar Ibarabah said, Ma pliyim shlo chadasha, right? Says, no. The only machlokas where he passed Shmuel is where he wasn't born the end of 9 months. Avlinol chadasha, but it's born the end of 9 months, Avrishim Gamliel Moida. So the Bible, Yerushalmi does not come out like we just said. It comes out that if you know for sure it's a 9-month term baby, even before 30 days, if it dies, you assume that it was a full-term baby, and therefore you have to be a novel on it. Okay? Getting back to the next issue in our Mishnah. What if he hit both fathers? It was machmir. He hit both. Or kilo zeh v'chazar kilo zeh. Still part, or he's still exempt. So there's more, wait a minute. How can he be exempt? Doesn't this argue Rabbi Yochanan? A guy transgressed. He went on 2 Shnei Yom Tov Shagolos and did a malach on both days, just to be sure that he should be over, right? So Rabbi Yochanan says Hasra Safik Shma Hasra, right? Even though each day we're mesupik if it's Yontif, but since together the 2 days make up Yontif for sure, so we're giving Hasra on both days, Hasra Safik Shma Hasra. So why don't we say the same thing here, by the 2 fathers together, right? Rishim and Lakish are aim Makam Yisrael Safik. Rishim and Lakish is the one who holds that there's no Hasra Safik, but like Rabbi Yochanan it should work. So Mechanina Amar Rebbe, it's the name of Rebbe, lazy pliga, it's not a machlokas. Taman Efshar L'chol Amodolov. It's interesting, this answer. By Shantam Shagolios, Igloil Milsma Freya, that he transgressed on one of them, right? In other words, what it means is you can find out eventually which day was Yontif, when the Shluchim come from Eretz Yisrael. So you'll know that he transgressed the Issa. Right now you don't know, but eventually you'll find out, right? And that's okay. But here you'll never know who was actually the father. So in order to make Asra Safik Shma Asra, you at least have to know that the Isser, what the Isser was. And you're going to have to be able to clarify that at the time you come to trial. And you're never going to be able to clarify. You know there was an Isser, but you don't know which it was. So therefore, you're never going to be able to convict. It's really a technicality. It's like getting the license plate number wrong on a car. Okay? But what if you hit them both together at the same time? Simultaneously. Or hika, not one after the other. Kilo shneim kachas. So there, Rabbanan say Rabbi Yehuda says you're potter. Rabbi Yochanan has to understand, but how she does Rabbi Yehuda, it seems Rabbi Yehuda contradicts himself. The Tad, it's not the moment we learned over there, we don't know which is the Gida Nosha. Actually, Rabbanan say we do. They ate the Gida Nosha from the left thigh and the right thigh. Sovich when you get 80 lashes, because they're both 2 historium of Gida Nosha. Rayirama in a Sovich only get 40 lashes. So he says it only applies to one of them, but we don't know which one. So you only get 40 lashes. So in any event, it's a kasha, right? Because there Rabbi Yehuda says Asra Safik Shma Asra. So if he eats 2 kazesim, one from each leg, one from each thigh, you give him 1 malchus between the 2 of them. But here it says when he beats both fathers, you don't give him malchus. He's still potter. You don't give him misa. So it's a contradiction Amrekus by animal chlefetz. It's not a contradiction. Tamon ikar love and suffik. A very interesting chiluk, he says, which Gemara immediately rejects. But it's a nice chiluk anyway. He says there, by Kida Nosha, we don't know what the Isser is. The Tamon ikar love and suffik. We don't know what the Isser, we don't know which the Isser pertains to. But we know one of them is Asr. So therefore, in that case, we can give him one Malkus between the two of them. But here, there definitely was a father. We just don't know which one it is. So it's interesting, his distinction. He says, where the suffix is in the din itself, so then we give him Malkus. Because obviously, HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave us a halacha. We forgot it, but there is such a halacha. So then, when we have a suffix in the din, we cannot say that he's exempt. But where the suffix is in the Metzias, we don't know which one is the father. He says, in that case, we don't give. When the suffix is in our knowledge, in that case, we can't put it to death. And the suffix is what the halacha was. We forgot the halacha. So then, we have to flog him. And the suffix is our knowledge of who the father is, then we don't give him the flogging, we suffix. There's a fascinating distinction with, if it were true, would require us to assess what the difference is between a suffix and din, to which one it pertains, a suffix and Matthias. But the Gemara rejects it anyway. Says the Gemara, Rabbi Yehuda asks, according to that premise, Me'ata nevela shebitla b'shchuta. Let's say you have a nevela which got mixed into a shchuta. Interesting case. You have a nevela which got mixed into a shchuta, right? But there's enough nevela to make up kazayis b'chtei achilas pras. But you don't know each bite, each morsel you're taking, is this morsel from the nevela, or is this morsel from the shchuta? You ate a kazayis b'chtei achilas pras, but you don't know which morsel was the part of the Isser, which morsel is part of the Eter. What would you say there? Would you say it's butter? Is that a suffix? That's a suffix in Matthias, right? According to Rabbi Yehuda, it should be butter, right?
It wasn't butter b'shishim.
No, it wasn't butter b'shishim, right? It's definitely there. It's not butter b'shishim. So, but the very should be b'shchuta. Ma'achas shavada yom nistapeklo. So this is a suffix in Matthias, right? You don't know what you're eating. Alchameni, you have butter? If you eat a dairy butter, is there such a thing? So of course not. So somebody, you're right. Rabbi Yehuda says, Mod Rabbi Yehuda b'shar kol sfeikus shu chayev. Really, Rabbi Yehuda concedes by all sfeikus, just because you have a suffix, you're still chayev malchus. You don't know which sly it is, you're still chayev malchus. You don't know if you ate the Isser right now, or you ate the heter, but you ate a kazayis of the Isser, you're still chayev malchus. Bramhacha Kraidosh is special halacha by fathers. Rabbi Darash Rabbi Yehuda. Aviv Vadai, it says Aviv. It means Vadai v'lo suffix. Imo, mother Vadai v'lo suffix. So that's why it's a special halacha over here. But any other suffix in Torah, as long as you know the transgressed Isser, and it's clear, so you give the guy malchus no matter what. Okay? He's even more machar Rabbi Yochanan. Yochanan knows asra suffix loshim has shema asra only when he gloy milsam afreya that you know what it was. He also even don't know what it was, as long as it's not a case of avi v'imo, as long as you know for sure he transgressed Isser, you give malchus no matter what. Okay, just to finish the parak. Vol mishmar shozeh v'shozeh. He goes to the mishmar of both kohanim. Goes as follows. Oh, Yalla, what's he going up for? He can't serve anyway when he gets there, because each mishmar says, ha, you're not one of us, you're one of the other mishmar. Says my Rabbi Yaakov and Rabbi Chaim, Rabbi said, name Gam Mishpacha. Because it looks bad if he doesn't go up. It looks bad for the rest of the family. So for the honor of the family, he's got to go up. Says Tani, it said in the Mishnah that if he knows which mishmar he is, if both Kohan, both potential fathers from the same mishmar, so he gets to eat no matter what. Right? That's what it said, because they're both in the same mishmar. It says, the Tani behain shiur shnei beis av echad. They have to be from the same beis av, because each mishmar is divided into 7 batei of 7 days. So they both have to be from the same base of, in order for him to be able to eat, because otherwise each one says, go to the other guy's day. My day or not, you can't get. So it has to be from the same base of. That's all I talk about karbanos, which other people bring in. But of course, since he's definitely a Kohen, so any carbon he brings, he's allowed to sacrifice and eat from himself. Okay. What, by the way, just